Excellent. And Senator Murkowski and I work very closly with Senator Barrasso on all the issues that come before the committee, and we welcome you today, Senator Barrasso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Sue, thank you very much for taking time to come and visit with me and my staff on some of the issues. I want to talk a bit about your views on natural gas. A couple of years ago, actually 2007, you made a statement that natural gas development is, I'll quote, easily the single greatest threat to the ecological integrity of the West. Now, natural gas development is, as you say, easily the single greatest threat to the ecological integrity of the West. Now, I find this viewpoint goes kind of beyond what is in the minds of the people member of this committee. It's out of the mainstream. I mean, we've had issues of others who've come to talk to this committee about natural gas. Expanding responsible natural gas development is one of the biggest economic success stories in the country. Created thousands of jobs in places like Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, West Virginia, Louisiana, and others. So if confirmed, there are pending issues that you'll be in charge of, and you'll have influence that will allow you to essentially stop natural gas production. You're going to be in charge of Fish and Wildlife Service, where you'll have influence and authority to set policy. You'll be able to influence decisions as to where to designate critical habitat, which can lock up millions of acres of land from natural gas production. There'll be numerous decisions that will be made during your tenure as to whether to list or to designate either critical habitat for different species, whether it's sage grouse in 8 western states, potential listings of the lesser prairie chicken in Oklahoma, the Gunnison sage grouse in Colorado, your home state, and in Utah, to name only a few. You know, you'll also have influence over future species, the sue and settle agreements, and to issue new rules that can restrict and lock up more land and ocean from natural gas production offshore and onshore. You know, in addition, the National Park Service, which you will also oversee in this position, has also begun commenting on BLM hydraulic fracturing rules. So, given the views stated by you in 2007, I want to know how members of the Senate that support natural gas could support your nomination.
Senator Barrasso, thank you very much for the question and also for the time that you spent with me personally. I appreciate it. As a member of this administration and personally, I believe strongly in the President's all-of-the-above energy strategy, of which natural gas is a hugely important component. My work at the Hewlett Foundation and at the Packard Foundation was really focused on trying to enable conservation solutions that were balanced with development as well as preservation. And we worked hard to ensure that all of those efforts were efforts that ultimately respected, I think, the economic needs and aspirations of local communities. So recognizing the importance of not only natural gas and the overall kind of energy needs of the country and opportunities of the country, but specifically natural gas's role in the economic development and livelihood of local communities throughout the country. I respect the role of it, understand the need for it, and if confirmed in this new position, will work hard to ensure that the decisions that are made, specifically by the Fish and Wildlife Service, are made in such a way that recognize, again, that this larger question of balance.
Well, yeah, I support natural gas. And you know, saying natural gas is the single greatest threat to the ecology of the West really doesn't sound like the support is there fundamentally in you for natural gas concerns. I'd also like to read from an October 31st of this year op-ed by the Washington Examiner on your nomination by Ron Arnold. It was entitled, "Another Big Green Power Player Moves Up in Obama's Washington." I'm sure you've seen the article. The article references your background, being a program officer for the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. You just mentioned that. Your work with the David and Lucille Packard Foundation and your leadership roles of the Environmental Grant Makers Association. The article states that at Hewlett, Sue managed the multi-million-dollar Western grants portfolio, doling out hundreds of thousands to green groups who sued the government to block productive ventures and usurp private property rights at the federal, state, and local levels from the Dakotas to Texas to the Pacific. So After years of you serving two big foundations and the Environmental Grant Makers Association, you then joined the Interior Department. But even after you joined the Interior Department, you stated before the Environmental Grant Makers' 25th anniversary that, quote, "I look forward to working with you, my colleagues." You're not there anymore. You're at the Department of Interior, but you're still saying, "I look forward to working with you, my colleagues, mentors, and friends to utilize the skills and talents of the EGA community to advance," you said, "a more resilient world and a resilient movement." So my question is, given your lifetime of funding activist groups opposing natural gas production, how can the members of this committee suddenly expect you to change your views if you're confirmed?
Thank you again for that question. Perhaps I can take the opportunity to clarify my views. Once again, I think both as demonstrated in my personal experience working for this committee and a member of this committee, as well as my experience in the foundation world, where I focused my grant making not on activities that were opposed to, again, the needs of local community and the participations of local communities and local stakeholders on conservation decisions. In fact, the vast majority of the work that I did both at the Hewlett Foundations and then the Packard Foundations were really designed about raising those voices. As I said in my opening statement, I worked considerably on a suite of grant making at both institutions to enable a broader suite of voices to be heard in the conservation movement, voices of hunters and anglers, voices of communities of color, voices of Native people. I can give you concrete examples throughout the West where I focused my efforts on ensuring that those voices of local communities were heard and balanced against the voices that were just coming from Washington, D.C. So I believe that with each and every single grant that I recommended during my tenure at both the Hewlett and Packard Foundations, those grants were balanced in a way that, again, both enable the opportunity to think about conservation, think about the resilience, again, of our conservation opportunities with the needs, aspirations, and desires of local communities.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your patience because my time has expired. I would just say this is a statement given just less than about a year ago, the fall of 2012, and I just think if this is not a position to which you've been nominated for, in my opinion, to promote any movement. So I question whether this is really the right position for you, given your deeply held views. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Barrasso.